Hello everyone. I'd like to welcome you to today's edition of the Our America channel. My name is Thornton Prayer. I'm a citizen, a patriot, and I care very deeply about the United States of America and where we're headed in our world today. Today I'd like to talk about something I call the furnace. And what I'm referring to is the idea that, when things get really hot and really intense and really heavy, it's like being in a furnace. Now I'm talking about from a psychological perspective or a mental or emotional perspective, but really the idea that when things, like I said, get really, really crazy, it gets really hot in a sense. And I think what's happening in our country today is like being in a furnace. People are getting really jacked up and agitated about what's happening. People on the left are, people on the right are, people in the middle. I don't care, again, where you're coming at things politically and so on. What I'm more concerned about is, are you willing, you and I, to step back and try to understand and not let the furnace burn you up, in a sense? Because what I see when I talk to people individually and, I connect with people online and what have you, is that people are getting so amped up that we're destroying ourselves. And by our self-destruction, we can end up destroying our country. And the problem with that is that when you have people blowing things up, I don't mean that literally, but that's what happens from time to time, that when things are blowing up, it's easy to get caught up in the blast wave rather than trying to push back and try to calm things down. This whole channel, this whole effort on my part is my attempt to try to calm things down, because I don't want this country to fall apart. Contrary to what a lot of people believe, nobody's going to win when that happens, except for a very small percentage of people who have a lot of money and political power. You and I, we're not going to do well in those environments. And I'm going to suggest to you that if you really want to make this country as strong and as powerful as it can be, it takes more than just blowing things up emotionally, ranting and raving on social media, which is what a lot of us do. I mean, that's a prime example. We read something on social media, and then it's like a fire that burns out of control, and we don't step back and try to understand, it's like, is that really true? Do I really need to perpetuate that stuff? Do I need to forward it to everybody in my network? I personally, just so you know, I don't go on social media that much. I'm barely on it, because I know it's a great environment to lose your mind. And frankly, I think a lot of us have lost our minds getting caught up in the furnace, getting all hot and bothered and agitated and pointing fingers. If you have the willingness, and I'm going to even use the word courage, to calm yourself down, to try to calm down the situation, we can move forward together and make this country where what we say we want it to be. Right now, everyone's running around like throwing bombs, Molotov cocktails, whatever you want to say, verbal bombs, rhetorical bombs all over the map. And then we wonder, why are things so crazy? To suggest that you can yell and scream at someone, both in the literal sense and online, and then expect them to respond calmly, I think is crazy. But that's what we're doing. We're doing that all over the place. And I'm saying that if you want to change things, you got to get out of the furnace, and you got to slow down, and calm down, and you got to cool down. Now, again, I try to keep this as general as possible, because I'm not interested in pointing fingers at people who are conservative versus people who are liberal. I think everybody's to blame to some extent. So the real issue is, are you willing, and I'm asking you, are you willing to step back, like I said, to calm yourself down, to cool yourself down, in order to cool down the furnace that has the potential to burn up our country? Now, I'm open to any thoughts, comments, or suggestions about all this. My goal, again, is to help this country, not to be right. I have my opinions, of course, but my opinions are not designed to inflame or enrage people. It's to try to get us to understand what's happening and try to understand each other so we can make this country what we want it to be. I'm open, like I said, to any thoughts, comments, or suggestions. I'd like to end here, and thank you again for watching the Our America channel.